Hello, and thanks for joining us today to discuss the Regional Intergovernmental Council's Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We look forward to sharing an update on the plan development with you and hearing your thoughts on how we prioritize projects in Kanawha and Putnam counties. Today, we will cover an overview of what we heard during the first round of public engagement. We will also provide an overview of the recommendations development process as well as the resulting draft recommendations. Later in the meeting, we will have a live polling activity to solicit your feedback on project prioritization and wrap up with key next steps for the plan's development. Let's begin with an overview of public engagement. In late October, we held two virtual public workshops. During these events, we discussed the foundation of what a metropolitan planning organization is, what the Regional Intergovernmental Council is, as well as what a metropolitan transportation plan is and why it's important to Kanawha and Putnam counties. Building on these foundational elements, we engaged with participants to review the goals and objectives for the plan, as well as provide an overview of existing conditions in the region. The first workshops also provided participants a chance to share areas of concern with our transportation network and ask questions of the project team. In addition to the public workshops, the project team engaged with key stakeholders in the region to understand any unique needs they may have. The first public workshop also served as the launch of our project website. On the project website, participants had the opportunity to leave comments about the goals and objectives of the plan, identify needs on an interactive map, as well as provide insights into the priorities via a brief online survey. The next couple of slides will review this feedback in greater detail. Since the launch of the project website, it has been visited over 7,000 times. 91 individuals have used the project website to engage with one of the interactive elements, and 77 individuals completed the short online survey. Let's talk briefly about the survey results. Survey participants were first asked to rank their top 3 priority areas for the updated MTP to focus on. Participants overwhelmingly shared that economic vitality was their biggest priority, followed closely by mobility and accessibility. This will be important to consider as we contemplate how to prioritize projects later in this meeting. Let's dive into more detailed questions about each of the goal areas, starting with mobility and accessibility. When asked to gauge the importance of investing in each of the multimodal elements, whether it be bicycle-specific facilities, pedestrian facilities, multi-use facilities, or public transportation facilities and amenities, participants placed a greater emphasis on multi-use and pedestrian facilities such as greenways, sidewalks, and crosswalks. When considering safety and security, most participants were interested in improving transportation safety at the region's most dangerous intersections and making the transportation network more reliable and travel times more predictable. When asked about the integration of land use and transportation, survey participants reiterated the importance of economic drivers. The two most popular considerations were to support economic development and job creation and to make it easier to travel between homes and jobs. As we step back to consider culture and environment as it pertains to the plan, those who engaged shared that providing access to people of all socioeconomic backgrounds and physical abilities was most important, followed closely by the desire to design our streets based on the context of the surrounding land use. When considering which transportation improvements would benefit the economic vitality of Kanawha and Putnam counties the greatest, many participants shared that improving our secondary roads was of the greatest importance. Finally, when asked to consider system preservation, many folks shared the desire to focus on ways to improve the conditions of our existing roads and bridges, rather than building new facilities or large highway-focused expansions. As we consider the needs identified by survey participants, some key words popped out, such as intersections, traffic, and bicycles. Of all of the comments and needs shared via the online map, pedestrian needs were identified most often, followed by roadway and bicycle needs. This feedback helped inform the creation of draft recommendations that we will review in a few moments. Other comments shared by participants included things such as focusing on attracting businesses, making better connections, including trails to downtown, and finally, additional emphasis was placed on maintaining our existing bridges and roadways. Let's take a look into how draft recommendations were developed for the RIC Metropolitan Transportation Plan. As we consider the recommendations development process, it's important to consider where the process started and some of the key considerations that helped inform the creation of draft recommendations. We began the MTP development process with a baseline understanding of travel conditions, previous planning efforts, and land use. This existing conditions review became the foundation for understanding needs for all of our modes and then transforming those identified needs into unique projects. At this point, we have draft recommendations that we will be asking for your feedback on prior to initiating project prioritization later this spring. Let's spend a little more time understanding the good planning efforts that preceded this effort. The Regional Intergovernmental Council and the West Virginia Department of Transportation develop plans regularly. For example, the WVDOT State Freight Plan was completed in 2018, and the Kanawha-Putnam Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan was completed in 2019. Each of these documents take a very detailed look at their respective areas of interest and are later used to inform the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Additionally, the last MTP was completed in 2017, and many of the needs identified in that plan have yet to be funded and will be carried forward into the recommendations of the newly updated plan. So as we consider the data from the existing conditions analysis, the previous planning efforts, as well as the feedback from the public, we begin to arrive at a series of multimodal recommendations. These recommendations consider improvements for bicycles and pedestrians, roadways, and freight. It's important to consider each of these recommendations holistically to ensure that we can better serve all users of the transportation system. Now that we've reviewed the process for developing multimodal recommendations, let's take a moment to provide an overview of what the draft recommendations look like. As we begin to think about our recommendations in detail, it's really important to understand what projects are up and coming. In the MTP, these projects are referred to as our E+C, or existing and committed projects. These projects already have money committed to their construction and are in the works of being completed. Examples of these projects are the widening of I-64 and Jefferson Road. The existing and committed projects help us understand where there are improvements already underway that are helping address identified needs. Using the existing and committed projects we just reviewed, we then try to understand how the transportation system performs once they are built. To do this, we use the region's travel demand model, which helps us better understand travel patterns and where there may be deficiencies in the network. The map on the right side of your screen shows the modeled traffic congestion in year 2050 after our existing and committed projects are built. The areas of red are roadways that may be approaching or are over capacity. These areas, as you can see, are very limited on the map and are a good sign that big-ticket projects like the widening of I-64 and West Virginia 622 and cross lanes are helping address existing needs. The full list of draft recommendations will be available in an interactive map that we will review later in the meeting. For now, let's call attention to a few strategic recommendations that have been added to address safety at several intersections in the study area. The Regional Intergovernmental Council recently looked into 6 intersections with significant safety needs. Many of these locations have been recommended for intersection modifications of the existing intersection configuration, such as the locations such as WV34 between I-64 and Great Tays Boulevard. These smaller scale projects have the opportunity to greatly increase safety, as well as traffic operations through several intersections in the region. We've mentioned already that the Kanawha-Putnam Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan was recently completed. That planning effort identified high, medium, and low priority bicycle projects, as well as many pedestrian projects. These projects will be directly incorporated into the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and considered for funding alongside all other projects. Now that you have an understanding of what we've heard to date and how draft recommendations were generated, we would like to invite you to hang around to participate in our interactive polling activity. We will also provide a detailed walkthrough of how to use the project website to review the draft recommendations and share your feedback with the project team. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to hearing from you in a few short moments.